Words, they're a thing. Welcome to Barnyard Language. We are Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer, with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us. So kick off your boots, reheat your coffee, and join us for some Barnyard Language. Honest talk about running farms and raising families.
In case your kids haven't already learned all the swears from being in the barn, it might be a good idea to put on some headphones or turn down the volume. While many of our guests are professionals, they aren't your professionals. If you need personalized advice, consult your people. Welcome back to another episode of Barnyard Language. Thank you so much for joining us again today. And we'll start off like we usually do, where I ask Katie what's new on the farm. So Katie, what's happening?
Well, it's been a long week, Arlene. We got back from our Thanksgiving trip and we impulse bought a 1-foot-tall Christmas tree, so some friends of ours, Pete Kearns, Tasha Egnan of River Farm and Turkey River Greenhouse in Elkader, Iowa, if you need plants, a CSA, pork, lamb, Christmas trees, whatever. Just a little free advertising for all, 2 of our listeners that might be in the area. Anyway, they're also delightful people, and they have basically the cutest baby in the world. So impulse bought a Christmas tree, came home, put up the tree, blah, blah, blah. And then Wednesday, I had to look back at the calendar to remember when this was. So we're recording this on the Friday before this episode will come out. I was in the house with the kids. Kids are good, Katie's good, everything is good. My husband came in with his hand wrapped in a shop towel and calmly announced that we needed to go to the emergency room, and I inquired as to whether this was like a call the life flight helicopter need to go to the emergency room, or like 2 stitches need to go to the emergency room. Like,
right. How much is the shop towel holding it?
Yeah, like, how much of your body is disconnected at this point? Turns out that he and his dad had been working on a skid loader and had the wheels off and had it jacked up and had it blocked, and Jim was pointing to some drain plug, I guess, on the bottom of the skid loader, and his dad set the jack down with Jim's hand underneath it, and the blocks didn't catch the skid loader. Thankfully, and I mean, it really is an excellent thing. It's basically the smallest injury you could get from having a skid loader set on your body.
Yeah.
But we're also headed to the orthopedic surgeon on Monday morning to see what they're going to have to do to close it up. We went into the ER Wednesday and got it, cleaned and antibiotics and all that. But with the short staffing of medical professionals in the world right now, I guess, and the fact that thankfully the end of your finger is not the most pressing injury they see, we got bumped till Monday morning to get it dealt with.
Which hand are we talking here? Dominant hand?
Right. Yeah. So we've been joking in the group about him, outsourcing his nose picking, things of that nature, because although so it's wrapped up huge, right? And he comes home and there's something red on the end of it, and I'm thinking, they told him light duty at work, they told him to stay calm. I assume he's bleeding through like 15 layers of gauze, and I'm thinking we're going to have to go to the emergency room again to get it, redressed and all this. And then I realized it's really bright red. And I asked him, he goes, "Oh, it's frosting. We had cupcakes at work today." Like, dude, you couldn't have found a cupcake that wasn't red or something? Help me out, just help me out
a little bit so it looks pink at least. Well, that's a lousy way to get a date night, Katie.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I mean, like, if you wanted to get me alone, you could have just taken me out to dinner. Like, you didn't really have to go to the ER for 3 hours. Anyway, how's your life, Arlene?
Well, in comparison, our week has been pretty chill. The crops are off. We just have to, milk the cows and do, all the rest of the chores all the time.
Just do the farming.
Yeah, just do the farming part. But yeah, things have been pretty relaxed. Big news in our house this week is that our younger 2 kids are now qualify for vaccine here in Canada. So they are one got their COVID shot on Thursday, and I've got another one tomorrow morning. So we're getting closer to being a fully vaxxed family, which is pretty exciting. And Katie and I both have kids with birthdays coming up. So she's got one who's going to be still little, and I've got one who's going to be driving age. So this is an exciting and nerve-wracking time for us. So we'll someday this week going to go and stand in line and see how long it takes to go in and get her in for her writing her driver's test. She's been studying all the signs and all the stuff to do the written test. So that's the first step. And then I get to be in the passenger seat, I guess. So that's going to be a whole new world.
Do you have any big plans for a party this weekend then? Since your daughter's turning, 16? Is that right?
Yeah, sweet 16. So we're going to have a small family party. The grandparents are coming over for lunch, and I ended up inviting a few extras, a friend, and some of the aunts and uncles and cousins, since it's kind of a bigger occasion. And one thing that's a bit different right now in our schools is, instead of a regular semester program where they take 4 courses at a time, they've switched to quadmesters these last 2 years. So they have less potential exposure in terms of COVID. So you're with less people every day. So she's actually doing a co-op placement right now at another farm. So she actually goes and lives with them. And so we take her down on a Wednesday night after her dance class, and then she spends 3 days working on their farm, and then she comes back home for a couple of days. So she's going to get back on her birthday, and then we can have a bit of a surprise birthday gathering type thing for her 16th. So that's the plan for this week.
Well, that'll be fun. The farm she's working on, is that another dairy then, or is that...
Yeah, so it's different? Another dairy farm, friends of ours. So it's about a 45-minute drive. So it would be too far for if she was doing co-op and school, but it works out really well because she's not having to do both. They have kids who are older and have moved out of the house, so they've actually she has her own room, and they set it up nicely for her. So she's got another place to hang out and just learn things from someone else that's not her parents. So I think that should be a good learning experience all around.
I think it should be a requirement that kids have to learn to deal with adults that are not family or, paid to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of people, obviously it's not an option for everybody, but I mean, a lot of people who, maybe work on the family farm and then end up staying on the family farm and maybe have never had another employer. And I think, it's definitely a different life skill, and, you learn things from other people differently than your parents, especially when you're a teenager and you don't always believe what they tell you.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to take correction from someone who's not your parent, especially at 16. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even in my 40s, I would still prefer it, probably.
I mean, my mom might listen to this, so I've never needed correction for anything.
Oh, I'm sure you haven't.
Ever. No. It's a perfect angel at all times. Yeah, I ordered I'm like craning my head around. She can't hear me. They're out in the living room watching TV. But I ordered an ice cream cake yesterday, and thankfully the girl who answered, we have a locally owned creamery that 2 dairy farmers co-own, and they make cheese and cheese curds and ice cream and bottle their own milk, which is amazing. So good.
Delicious.
WW Homestead in Waukon, Iowa. They do ship. Anyway, ordered an ice cream cake, and the girl who took the order is apparently one of 7 kids, so she had a real good grasp of what a 5-year-old would want. I think we're expecting it to pretty much be so bright that we will need sunglasses, and possibly vomit-inducing just from the sheer amount of sugar, which means that it will be perfect for small children. The amount of unicorns and glitter and pink in general is kind of shocking. So before we had kids, we were pretty big on, or I at least was pretty big on, not pushing girly things. And literally had somebody come over to paint a unicorn on her wall last week. So whatever. By the time leaning into it,
they know what they want, then it's not up to you anymore, right?
No, it is not.
It's, you know what, Katie, I actually had someone ask the other day about some of the words that we're using to describe our kids. And I just wanted to clarify that one of the reasons that, Katie calls hers girl child and boy child, and that I use ages, is that we've made a conscious decision not to name them. I mean, well, they have names.
I still haven't named mine. There, I mean,
she's only 5. We couldn't narrow it down, but we made a decision.
What's the hurry?
Prompted by me and having teenagers, that we decided that while our husbands would have names on the podcast, that we wouldn't use our kids' names on the podcast. So if you're wondering why we just go by ages or descriptors,
did you just forget what you do call them?
Yeah, I don't know. They get mixed up all the time.
I realized the other day that I'm already starting to call them by the wrong name, too, so I feel a little safer about...
Well, it's just starting. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, mine get mixed up with the pets. And
well, that too.
I am really glad that none of them have the same beginning initial, because my daughter and my sister both start with an M, and whenever we're together, or I've talked to my sister on the phone, anything like that, I mix their names up constantly. And they're not that similar. But yeah, if I was a Duggar where, 20 kids all with the same first initial, there's no way I would ever get them right. So yeah. They all have different initials. So we've got that.
I don't know how people with big families do it. We only came up with one girl name and one boy name, and we had 5 years to do it. So
yeah, that's right.
We would have really been in trouble if we'd had more. All right, was that our whole update then, Arlene?
Yeah, that'll do it. Today, we'd like to welcome Karen Livesay Fitch. Karen lives in southwest Iowa with her husband, Nick, where they have a cow-calf operation. Karen is going to talk to us today about her recent spinal cord injury and the efforts that she and Nick have undertaken to raise money towards spinal cord research. Karen, we start all of our interviews with the same question because it covers a lot of different areas like crops and livestock, as well as businesses, families, careers. So we'll ask you as well, what are you growing?
Yeah, so we live right on the Iowa-Missouri border, and my grandma is 83 or 84 years old, and she still lives on the farm, and she lives in Missouri. And then my parents and my husband and I all live in Iowa. And so, we're just a stone's throw from the other state. So we do a little bit of corn that we grind for feed for our cattle. And we have a cattle herd, and then we do quite a bit of hay between the two locations. And then the majority of the hay we feed ourselves, but we do have a little bit of extra most years when things work out well and we're not in drought. So we do sell a little bit of hay. So we're a little bit all over the place, but the cattle are definitely what have our heart. So we really enjoy doing that.
So do you pick corn then, or do you combine for feed?
We pick it on and leave it on the ear, and then we grind. Yep. My dad learned that was a really good way to make high quality feed quite a while ago, and so that's still how we do it, and it works out really well for us.
That's actually what we do for our cattle and our sheep as well. I'm glad to meet somebody else who does all the wrong things like we do.
Most people don't do that anymore, and we have a Facebook page, and so we try and post stuff about what we do on our business page, like what we do on our own farm. And similar experience. A lot of times people are like, is that corn still on the ear? And they kind of look at you like, what on earth is going on? And so, that's fun.
All right. So, Karen, were you always involved in agriculture? And did you and your husband both grow up in farm families?
Yeah. I grew up on the farm that my dad was raised on. And so and my mom grew up on a farm as well. And so both my parents had that strong ag background. And actually, when I bought my first herd of cattle in 2014 when I was a senior in college, and I kind of just offhandedly asked my mom the question, hey, how long has our family been farming? And she was like, oh, I don't know, I should look, let me do some checking on that. And she actually got really into genealogy in that project, and we figured out that basically as long as we've had family in America, we've had a tie to agriculture. So that was really a cool thing to find out for us, that, we're carrying that legacy of, the love of, land and livestock on. And that just is really exciting. And my husband grew up on a farm as well. And they do a lot with They still do a lot with sheep, and they used to do pigs, and they do cattle, and they also do quite a bit of row crop, conventional corn and beans as well. So yeah, ag is really important to both my husband and I.
Karen, can you tell us a bit about your injury and the path you've been on since your injury? Just kind of describe what's been going on in your life, I guess, the last couple years. Is that?
I would say that my story is definitely not like the traditional spinal cord injury route. The majority of people that have a spinal cord injury comes, the biggest contributor to that is car accidents. And then a lot of things like, if people have some sort of a fall or something like that, that's the most traditional route. But I have a really rare condition known as an arteriovenous malformation that we found out about when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I have had, back when I was a kid, I had a few different surgeries where we worked on trying to reduce the size of it. Mine's really, an AVM is a rare condition anyways. And then they can be anywhere all over the body. And mine is really extra rare because it's in my spinal cord. And not only is it in my spinal cord, it's in my C-spine, which is extra rare. And then mine was inside and outside of the spinal cord, both. And so basically I'm just the very small subgroup of a very small subgroup of a very small subgroup sort of a thing. So I had surgery when I was a kid, and I did 5 years of physical therapy. For the most part, I lived a pretty normal life. There was something like my neurosurgeon, didn't want me like riding a horse or anything like that where I could have a fall. But for the most part, with a little bit of modification, I pretty much did, whatever I wanted, cautiously, whatever I wanted. And then finished high school, went to college, got married, bought my own cows, stuff like that. And then a few years ago, I kind of just started having a few more problems, and I had surgeries, and, everything had worked out. And then 2 years ago, in 2019, in November, I had a great day where I worked. We own our own business. We also farm. I'd worked. I went in to see my little sister at a play, and we came home and went to bed. And I woke up a few hours later and I didn't feel quite right. And I was in a lot of pain. And then within 5 minutes, I couldn't move anything from my neck down. And so I ended up getting life flighted to the University of Iowa, and I had surgery, and I was actually doing better. And I was in ICU for 18 days, and I'd gotten transferred to a rehab facility. And while I was there, I had a bleed in my thoracic spinal cord, and went back to Iowa City, had surgery again, and that's kind of where the luck ran out, it seems like. And so I got a lot of lung complications and just had, a slew of things that basically they said at the university, we had a plan for any one of these things going wrong, but not all of them. So it started because I aspirated a pill. Then when that happened, they put me on a BiPAP machine, and they blew out one of my lungs. Then my lungs collapsed, so I ended up with the trach, as you can see, and at the time I had 5 chest tubes. So I was in the hospital I was in Iowa City, I was in Nebraska, and then I finally ended up at a rehab hospital in Chicago, Illinois. And so I got discharged from the rehab hospital in the very end of April of 2020. And we actually came home because this little thing called COVID happened. And my doctor said, we don't know what's going on. This is crazy. The best way that we can keep you safe is to send you home. And so I want you to go home and do nothing and see no one until things get better. And so we own our own ag business. Like I've said, we farm. And so none of us had any, nursing background at all. And I'm very fortunate that I can be at home and not have to, be at some sort of like a long-term care facility. But I do require, 24-hour care because I can, the majority of things I can't do for myself, I need help with now. And so, we came home scared to death, not only scared of COVID because I had all the lung complications and stuff like that. But also we didn't know how to change a trach or do, any of the things that we need to do. But luckily, my family is great and they do an awesome job of helping to take care of me. And, our local small town community has been awesome and has really rallied around us. And, anything we need, they've really helped with. And we've been very fortunate that between a can-do attitude and Dr. Google, we've always been able to figure it out. So I'm very, very fortunate.
Are you willing to talk to us about a little bit about what it looks like for you day to day, in terms of, is it mostly family help? Do you have nursing help as well? Or what does it take to kind of, make your way through a day now with those supports in place?
Yeah. I would say that most days are long and nights are short, it seems. But for the most part, it's all family that's here between my mom and dad. And I have a younger sister who she's in college right now, but like over the summer and stuff, she's here a lot, and my husband. And then I have a friend from high school that comes a couple days a week. She used to be an EMT, so she has, some training in that. And then from time to time, we have some other help, but for the most part, it's all just family, mostly just one. It's hard. I think anywhere right now, it's hard to find help with anything, but that's a big contributing factor. And then just, like I said, everything with COVID, we're trying to be as cautious as possible and just to limit, my exposure to the people that I'm around, just to try and be as safe as possible. So yeah, days vary a lot, but I still do physical therapy a couple times a week. And we're really fortunate because the guy that used to be the head of the physical therapy department, who retired a few years ago, he comes out twice a week and works out with me. So we just try and do as much activity as possible because I really have improved a lot even since I've been home. The thing about spinal cord injuries is prognosis isn't always clear. And so, even after my second surgery, when things went wrong and I went from before surgery or before the bleed, I was able to stand and pivot and walk with assistance, to when I came out of surgery, I couldn't do anything but squeeze my left hand. And they did a MRI and, tried to check things out to see what was going on. And they told my family that I shouldn't have been able to do what I was even doing at the time. And so when I left Iowa City, the neurosurgeon said, we don't know what this looks like, but give it a couple of years and you'll have a lot better idea what your life is, going to look like day to day. And so we have a very can-do attitude. I don't know, I think that if I've made the joke before, if we knew somebody that said, hey, we need you to get a paperclip from Maine to California, figure out how to get it done, somehow we would know enough people that we could do it. We're just really fortunate that we know good people and have a good attitude. And so we just put as much effort into getting better as we can. So, like I said, physical therapy is here. The retired physical therapist comes a couple of days a week. And then I also do a lot of non-traditional stuff. So there's an acupuncturist that comes once a week and a craniosacral therapist that comes once a week and a rofer that comes from time to time. So we try and throw everything we can at it to get the most progress as possible. And, I went from only being able to squeeze my left hand to I have pretty good use of my left arm now. It's not perfect, but I am able to do, use my phone some and feed myself some and itch my face and stuff like that. And then my right arm, I do have some movement in, not past my wrist doesn't work. So my hand, I don't have a functional hand yet, but we work on that. And I even have movement in my both, on my toes on both feet. So, we don't know what the future looks like, but I am still making progress. And, we hope that with time and effort and prayers and different, things that come out that, we still see the best and hope for the best for the future. But we just work hard every day between now and then to see what we can get back.
Yeah, it sounds like you have an amazing team with you and around you. I love how I don't know if you notice it, but you're saying we, a lot. So obviously those people are really part of your recovery, that it isn't just your injury, but it's affecting your whole family, but you're all working together to work through it. But I know, a lot of that work is yours, right? So that's really admirable. You're doing a ton of work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, for the most part, it goes well. I think one of the biggest things that's probably honestly like the toughest, or one of the tougher aspects of it is like, so because I can't move and reposition myself, at night, like I can't just be left on my back all night, because then I would get pressure sores, and that's a really big deal for people who don't have the ability to move themselves. And so every 3 hours throughout the night, we wake up and my husband, rolls me, and we put like wedges and stuff in. And so I feel like we're in this like continual, basically like you have a newborn stage all the time, because, we never just get a solid night's sleep. And then on top, like compounded with that, I have to use a ventilator at night to sleep. And so with that and the trach, there's like a balloon that goes up that kind of covers your airway so your carbon dioxide doesn't get too high, which in result leads to me not having a voice at night. And so, like it's in the dark, I'm trying to communicate to him what I need by, voice, like without a voice, by using my mouth. And it's definitely much better now than it was, because like when my injury first happened, I was on the vent from December through like the 1st of March. I wasn't able to eat. I didn't, have a voice for the majority of that time. And some of those days in the beginning, there was a lot of like angry looks and stares and like, come on, people, I'm trying to tell you what I need.
Yeah. Your eyes got very expressive.
Yes. So there have been made multiple jokes about the looks that I made on my face when, like, the first like 2 weeks, the university tried to sedate me so that I would sleep. And I did not sleep for like 8 days, more than 20 minutes. And so, they talked about how like they would be in the room, but they would basically be to like trying to be where I couldn't see them so that I would actually sleep, and then I wouldn't. And yeah, we've had all sorts. We could have a real tell-all of looks, and I could only squeeze my hand, and so I would get really mad, and I would just squeeze really hard, and all sorts of things. Because I was partially drugged, so I was a little bit out of it. And yeah, we've done it all.
Yeah.
So, Karen, do you feel like years of working cattle with your family has really improved your ability to give the death stare? Because I feel like,
maybe that's why my skill in that area is so strong. Is like, hey, come on, people, what are you doing? Yeah.
Maybe you could teach classes to other folks who need to really work on that. CEOs or anybody who's like having to negotiate.
Yeah, nonverbal and verbal communication.
Yeah, that's priceless.
Maybe like hostage response teams, that sort of thing. Like anybody who really needs to be able to give that death glare. Like I feel like a lifetime of working cattle and then into this situation, you've probably got like a serious stare going that you should really be able to monetize. So
yeah, I feel like that, and then just not having a voice for so long, like, I don't know, I think that there's a lot of times that, especially my mom and I, communicate without talking, like, when there would be people in the room, and we would just, kind of do this look back and forth thing, and I would say that having that cattle working background of like, okay, you gotta get over here, and doing all, like, communicating all that without ever talking, I would say that's a very good point.
So knowing that there are a lot of unknowns with spinal cord injuries, what are you hearing about what your prognosis is going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked a little bit about it earlier. Basically, it's just, we'll wait and see, and we'll figure it out. And like over the summer, I went up to Mayo, and I saw a ton of specialists while I was there that were all excellent, but they basically said the same thing of like, we're not entirely sure how you're as well as what, every single doctor that I saw said, wow, I'm so glad that you're here in person, because what it looks like on paper and what we see in front of us can't be the same thing. And so, I don't know, basically it seems like my whole life I've kind of defied the odds of, we're not really sure how this has worked out as well as it has, but here you are. And so, nobody can really comment on why my toes wiggle and what that means. So basically, for people who don't know, and I didn't really have an understanding of this before my spinal cord injury, but so like each level, like each vertebrae that you have in your spine controls a different area of your body, from being able to breathe on your own to being able to move or feel or, basically anything that happens in your body, your spinal cord controls. And so, my spinal cord injury is at C6, but so there's two types of injuries, complete and incomplete. A complete means that there is your spinal cord was severed at that location. Incomplete means that there's just something a little bit wrong, but this signal still can't get past it. So I'm a C6 incomplete, but with that, I should not have use of my fingers. I should not be able, to move my arms. My toes definitely should not wiggle. There's a lot of things that I have that I was 100% a C6 complete I would not have. And so nobody really seems to know how or why the toes are wiggling, but your toes are at the very bottom of your spinal cord, kind of at that sacral area. And so, we know that there are some signals that are making it all the way from my brain down to the very bottom of my spine. And, we hope that with time and we're looking into some different sorts of therapy things that kind of help to rewire the brain, the signals and stuff like that. And so, like I said, we're hopeful, but no doctor has really given us a clear, this is 100% what it's going to be, because I don't, nobody seems to really know.
So, with what I know of the general personality of farmers, do you have any tips for dealing with when things are wait and see? Because I feel like generally we are not wait and see kind of people, or we certainly wouldn't be raising cattle if we were.
I don't know. I mean, some days are harder than others. There's a lot of, some moment to moment is harder than others, and sometimes I'm super, positive and hopeful, and other times I'm like, man, this sucks. You know what I mean? When I was at the rehab hospital, we, spent, just our time in the hospital that year, we spent Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, my birthday, Easter, all in the hospital, and that sucked. There's not a lot of good ways to define, we're a big family. We love spending time together. Holidays are a really big deal to us. They are a lot of people, and it's hard to be excited about spending Christmas in ICU on a ventilator with no voice. Nothing about that is really exciting. And right before my birthday was when I was going to be 26, and I hadn't eaten since before Thanksgiving, and I had been hungry the whole time. And I was very upset, and I talked to my mom, and I was just like, you have no idea how hard it is to be 26 years old and not be able to feed yourself. That sucks. And I don't know, I'm just, like I said, I'm very fortunate. My family has a can-do attitude, and my mom was like, okay, we're going to start working on it then. And so, I was doing between 3 and 6 hours of therapy a day when I was at the rehab hospital. And after I would do that, and I would be completely exhausted, and still in the evenings, we started talking to the therapist about okay, what can we do to start working on it? And we just got to work. So, it's hard to not know what the future is, but, and to some extent, I get what you're saying, we want to control our environment and know all the variables, but at the end of the day, we plant a crop and we don't know if or when it's going to rain, or, any of what you're going to get. Is it going to hail? Is there going to be a windstorm? is it going to, are you going to have the worst weather of the year, the weekend that your heifers start calving? All those things that we obviously hope that, if you wait until March instead of February to calve, yeah, you want the weather to be better, but there's also been years where the worst cold snap or the worst blizzard has happened then. So we hope for the best, and that's what we want, but we also kind of know to plan for the worst as well. And we just get up and get to work every day. And I think that having that attitude is kind of what's kept us all sane. And on top of that is how we've seen as much progress, because, it would have been very easy to give up then. I had doctors, in the hospital that said, you're probably not going to get it back. You're probably going to be on it. I literally had a pulmonary doctor say, I don't know if you're going to get off the vent. It's going to be really hard. Good luck. And she just walked out of the room. And that was it. And I don't know, that was devastating to me. But I think, like you said, with the eyes of working cows, I just was like, fine, I'll show her. And, fortunately, I'm off the vent all day long now, and the only reason I still have it is because I have sleep apnea, not because of a lung issue itself. Just having a kind of well, fine, I'll prove you wrong attitude. You're not the boss, I'm the boss. So, it's hard, but we try to make the best of it that we can.
So the way that we actually got in touch with you is we found out that you were promoting the Cuddle Cow Company, a company that you and your husband started. So can you tell us about your company and what you're working towards and what you're doing?
Yeah, so my husband and I, after we got home, we were so fortunate. So many people when I was in the hospital sent, cards and gifts and money, and just, it helped so much. When you're in the hospital for that long, it's sad, it's depressing, it's financially very hard. We lived anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours away from where our farm is. And, we were fortunate that people came and took care of our animals for us. And, just everything that we needed, somehow we always, miraculously got. And so once we came home, my husband and I were listening to a podcast with the founder of Tom's, the shoe company, where if you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes away. He was on the Ed Milet podcast, and my husband was like, hey, I think that we should do something like this. And that was when we first came home, and man, we were still swimming in it. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Maybe someday if you want to figure that out, that's great. But I'm at the end, I'm at the end of my rope right now, and I can't think about this. And
today is not that day.
Yes, correct. And so he just honestly kept bringing it up, hey, if we were to do this, what would we sell? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Figure it out. He just it was something that it was really, really important to Nick. And so he just kept bringing it up. And so finally I just was, he wore me down and was like, okay, we want to do something where we give back, but what would it be? And we, thought about a million different things. And I think it was his idea actually. And he was like, hey, you had several people that sent you blankets and you really liked having something that was not just the standard medical grade, has been bleached a million times, so it's horribly uncomfortable. Blanket, what if we sold blankets? And it was like, oh yeah, that would be kind of cool. But what would they be? And then when I was in the hospital, something that I just, when you can't talk, you have a lot of time to think. And so I just kept thinking and telling myself, you got to get back to the farm. You got to get back to the farm. You got to get back to the farm, because there were a lot of days that were really touch and go, where we weren't sure that I was going to make it back. And so I just kept telling myself, you got to get back to the farm. And so I was like, okay, we have the farm is the most, one of the most important things to us. So how could we combine our love of the farm with a product that could give back? And so Nick's like, there has to be a way to make custom blankets. Let me do some checking. And so he just started researching it. And, we found a manufacturer that would print custom pictures for us. And then, but everywhere wanted us to buy in bulk. And, financially the ability to do that. Plus we live 10 miles from town. And so if we were going to have to package it all ourselves, getting it to the post office was just not an option. So then it was like, okay, we've, found places that will make them, but we need to find somewhere that will also ship them for us. And so, just every step of the way, we just figured it out one step at a time, very similar to how we have with, all the stuff with my injury. And so, you figured out, how do you form an LLC? How do you figure out sales tax? How do you, do all these things? And so, we coupled it all together and decided to do the custom farm blankets. So the majority of our blankets have pictures that we've taken here on like the farm of our cattle, or the farm where my husband and I live. We have a barn that was built in the early 1900s. And I often joke that if Nick would let me, I would live in the barn because I love it. And so that we have a blanket that has the barn on it, but then several people reached out and were like, do you offer custom blankets? And so, then we had to go back to people and be like, okay, can we just do, could we do any pictures that we wanted? And they said yes, fortunately. And so now we also offer that where if somebody, people can either pick the blanket, a blanket that we already have on the website, or they can send us their own. And so now we offer that. And then, because we liked the Tom's aspect of, buy one, give one sort of a thing. We talked about a lot of different ideas that we could do, but we decided to settle on putting our money towards researching a cure for spinal cord injury. Because as of right now, there is no known cure for spinal cord injury. And so we, instead of just complaining about the problem, wanted to be hopefully a part of the solution one day. And so part of the proceeds go towards helping to find a cure. And we're actually really excited because Northwestern, the hospital, just announced here a couple weeks ago that they have created a new drug that they were able to help cure paralysis in either mice or rats. I'm not sure which. And they're actually going to the FDA right now to get approval for a human study. And so and Nick has been in contact with them. And so we're really excited that our money is going to go towards helping fund that because, like anything, research needs money, and spinal cord injury is an area that's definitely underfunded because just not a lot of people know about it. It's not a big button topic. And so, we're hoping to not only raise awareness for spinal cord injury, but also, raise funds to help be a part of that cure.
It seems like a really farmer response to an injury like this, to be like, we've had this devastating injury and we're 6 hours from home, and what we should do is start a business. Because why not? Like, that's just such a farmer response to something like this, to be like, why not just fix this by starting something completely different?
Yeah, my husband has I'm kind of the high-strung type A personality, and Nick is a very, calm, cool, collected type B personality. And so I was very worried about a lot of things, and Nick jokes that a few weeks before my spinal cord injury, we had a cow that went down and he had to put an IV in its neck and give it something. And so anytime I would, be like, well, we don't know how to do this, right? And I'd just be like, starting to spiral out of control. And he'd be like, hey, if I can put an IV in a cow, I can do this. And I'm like, I don't know how this reference is the same.
This is not reassuring.
I appreciate the fact that you were trying to calm me down right now. But I am only more stressed out by the fact that you think that somehow this is the same as giving an IV to a cow. And the cow didn't even make it. And so I'm yeah, but the cow died.
Your confidence level is not where I would like it to be.
Exactly.
To be reassuring.
I need you to knock it down a few notches.
I feel like this story would be a lot more reassuring if you had been like, and then the cow jumped up and was fine and had heifer twins and milked the best. She died is not really super reassuring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually have two family members, a cousin who was paralyzed in a swimming accident, and then my late uncle now was paralyzed many years ago in a farm accident, and they both of their family, like immediate families, and then us as a larger family, participated in a bunch of different fundraisers over the years for spinal cord research in Canada, like through that organization. So I was just curious about if your funds are going to a specific organization or if you're sending them to different programs depending on where the needs are, or how you're channeling your fundraising efforts.
Yeah, for the time being, I think that it's all going to go to the Northwestern study, just to try and help like get that off the ground, because that's the most promising research to come out, I think, potentially ever. And so we're really excited about that in the future. I don't know 100% what it looks like, because like I said, we're just taking it one day at a time, going from how the heck do we figure, I don't know, what do we do with sales tax? Like, that's something that on the farm we've never had to deal with. And I'm like, I don't want to go to prison. Like, we got to figure this out. We have got to figure this out. And so, for the time being, Northwestern is where, we're going to channel that. And we've actually raised like $750 already. So we're really excited about that. And, I don't know what the future of it looks like, but, I feel like we're, like hopeless romantics, or like hopelessly hopeful sort of thing. In that we don't know what it could be, for my injury, and we don't know what it can be for the business, but we hope that to shoot for the moon, and that, the sky's the limit for it.
I'll warn you, Karen, I have a horrible dark sense of humor, but I feel like realistically the IRS is never going to come after you for sales tax, because you would have the worst optics of anyone they could ever try to do anything about. Like,
well, let's hope so.
How bad would they look to be coming after you for sales tax? Like, farm wife, paralyzed, making blankets for charity. Like, there's...
Really is fun, right?
Yeah. Like, I feel like they've probably got a lot of people that would rank above you in...
I hope so.
People that would be worth coming after. So if our listeners would like to order a blanket for a loved one before Christmas, which they should, because I've been looking at your store and they're gorgeous, is there still time?
Yeah, so through like the 12th or 13th of December, we can guarantee that it can get there. And we actually have more than just like blankets is where we started. And I love the blankets. We have 3 different options. And the pictures turn out awesome. And even if someone like sends a picture that they've taken on a cell phone, as long as it's like a newer high quality camera phone, the pictures turn out gorgeous. Like, they look really, really good. And so we have the blankets. We also have canvases, and then we also have bath mats. So we have a variety of different things. And as long as people order, like I said, by like the 12th or 13th, we can guarantee that it can get to them before the 25th. And Nick and I actually talked this morning that we were going to do a coupon code. I think, we're not overly technical, so that was like another thing. Nick had to figure out, how do you make a website? And so we have a 5% off for anybody that listens to the show if they use the code Barnyard, all one word. So
thank you so much. So as the Canadian co-host, I want to just check, would you ship to Canada too, or are you just in the US at this point, or what is your...
We're just in the US at this point. We actually
That's fine, just wanted to check.
Yeah, we had someone from Canada reach out, but the shipping was like astronaut. Like, the shipping is ridiculous in the US already, and then to try and get it into Canada, unfortunately, it was just more than double the cost of the blanket. And so that's not something that we can do at this point.
That's fine. I know anytime I try and buy something on Etsy, I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Oh, $25 shipping. Never mind. It's not that cute.
Yep.
My personal favorite question for this entire show that we ask all of our guests, we tried to change it once and it was horrible, so we're just sticking with it, is what county fair competition could you dominate? Could be a real category, a made-up category.
We talked about that this morning, and I feel like if it's in regards to the blankets, it's definitely like the coziest award, because like I said, the blankets are super duper soft. So I would say if there was some sort of snuggly, cuddly, cozy award, that would be the one that we would rock.
I would like to judge that.
I feel like we should assemble a team, because I feel like the boy child is probably the snuggliest person in the world. So I feel like if you paired him and Arlene's puppy with the blanket...
And a snuggly blanket with a cow on it. Woo.
Yeah, you'd probably have a trifecta of snuggly.
We have some friends that sent us if they ordered a blanket, and they sent me a picture. And she said that every day when she goes to work, her dog gets really upset, and so she always covers him in a blanket before she leaves. And she sent me one of this super cute puppy that was wrapped in a blanket, and it was adorable.
Prize winning for sure. So
Right.
We're going to move into our cussing and discussing category, I think. Unless you had something else you wanted to say, Katie.
No, I was just excited that it was time for cussing and discussing.
Okay.
It's my favorite, and I am here for it.
You're ready to cuss. As
I
always
am, Arlene.
if any of our listeners would like to cuss and discuss, you can record a voice memo or send us a message. Our email address is barnyardlanguage@gmail.com, or you can send us a message through Facebook or Instagram. Katie, I know you just got back from a long road trip, Thanksgiving road trip with your family, so I'm going to guess you have some cussing, maybe discussing. I'm guessing you have cussing to do, so you get to go first.
So we drove to Pennsylvania and back last week for Thanksgiving. From far northeast Iowa, so 12 hours and change of actual driving time with a 3.5-year-old and a going to be 5 on Sunday year-old. And the kids actually did really well, considering. We did get a noise complaint, I want to say, the first night.
Not on the road, I'm guessing.
No, the boy child. We got to that hotel and he was beyond excited, and we got a noise complaint from the folks downstairs at the hotel that it sounded like there was a herd of elephants upstairs, and could we please keep it down. The hotel we stayed at for the bulk of our trip was able to put us
away from
all
people?
The way at the end. Yeah, so that helped. But I think next time it's going to be all Airbnb, something like that from here on out, where we can just... But the one that I really, I like to bring a solid cuss to this whole thing, is the people. I was dropping the kids off at daycare yesterday, and it's 40-some degrees here. I don't know, Karen, how warm it is in your part of Iowa, but it's like spring-like out there right now. And I'm dropping the kids off, and we're like walking from the car to the building. They're not like going on a 5-mile trek or anything. And this woman walks up to the girl child while I'm standing there and goes, "Where is your hat?" I'm just like, lady, she's 5. It's 40-some degrees out here, and we're walking like 100 feet. So she has now been out here longer than she would have been because you're asking her questions. And also, just, why are you asking my 5-year-old? And I was thinking about it that people even do this when you have a small infant. That if the baby isn't wearing shoes or something, they will ask the baby where their shoes are. Like the baby is going to respond.
Yeah.
I just trust that I can dress my child. Trust that they're not going to die of hypothermia when it's 40-some degrees out. And just leave people alone. Just leave people alone.
Oh, no.
So, that was it. What about you, Arlene?
Well, this kind of ties back into our talk about shipping somewhat. So this seems really trivial compared to what we just talked about today. And I apologize, Karen, I'm going on the super trivial side. But I don't understand why every company who I've put myself on the email list for, and I made that choice, that's fine. Sometimes I like to know about your deals. But I don't need to know that Black Friday's coming, that Black Friday's tomorrow, that it's Black Friday today, it's Black Friday today, it's Black Friday today, and that it's going to be Cyber Monday, and there's still deals, still deals. Like every company sent me like 15 emails in the last 5 days. And I'm not shopping that much. And does that really generate that much more interest in their things if they just fill my inbox with garbage? I don't understand how this helps, but I didn't need to know about that many deals. And I unsubscribed from a bunch of stuff just because of it. So take that, companies.
I'm amazed at how many people I know have unsubscribed from huge amounts of emails this week. So probably all these businesses have lost a huge amount of of customers just from people not wanting to see their shitty emails.
Yeah, you send me 15 emails in 5 days, I'm gone. I'm out of here.
How many emails could they send you a week before you'd get mad?
I mean, I'm okay with 2 or 3. I can delete them just as easily as not. But it's the multiple times a day, too much.
If there were pictures of puppies in them?
Well, I mean, I would subscribe to that. But
okay.
I'm going Canadian here, but my Indigo and my, like Rakuten and those websites, they're not sending me puppies. They're just trying to get me to buy more stuff. I bought too much stuff already.
I mean, Karen might need some marketing ideas. So Karen, hot
5
tip.
emails a day, too much.
Put pictures of puppies in it. Arlene will let you spam her as much as you want if there's pictures of puppies.
We'll send you pictures of our dogs. You can put them on blankets.
Yeah. I have a picture of my dog tucked in with a blanket, so you could probably just Photoshop one of your blankets in on top of him, or I guess I could order him one and just take another picture.
There, order him a blanket with his own picture on it.
Oh my God,
Karen,
you'd like that.
I'm sure you have a lot of things to cuss about. Do you have anything in particular that you want to cuss or discuss with us today?
I mean, some days that list would be a mile long. I
bet.
For all the things that it could be, but yeah, the emails is definitely a thing, and somehow I swear, some companies, if you try and unsubscribe, they just send you a dozen more emails. I'm like, people, let me out of this rat race. How?
Why are you leaving? Is it because we send you too many emails? Yes, no, stop.
Can I send you 7 emails asking you why you're leaving? So yeah, I can agree with the email thing as well.
Thank you so much, Karen, for joining us today and being on the Barnyard Language podcast. We appreciate you being so open with us and being willing to share your story. And we want to encourage all of our listeners to look for the Cuddle Cow Company. Do you want to tell us your website or where they can find you online? Are you on all the social medias? You can tell us all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so our website is cuddlecowcompany.com. And we're also, with that same name, on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So, if you like cute pictures or videos of cows, we try and cover you on all bases there. So, yeah.
We like all that stuff.
Yeah, we'd love that. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much your target audience, because Arlene and I, we like cows, we like cozy, and we like pictures of cute stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. And, like I said before, anybody that wants to shop, be sure to use the coupon code BARNYARD for 5% off. We really appreciate that you gave us this opportunity.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Barnyard Language. We would appreciate it if you would rate, and subscribe to this podcast. Leaving a review is a great way to help us reach more listeners. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as Barnyard Language, and on Twitter as Barnyard Pod. If you want to connect with other like-minded farm families, just join the private Facebook group.
Patreon is an easy way for you to support us and to support the show. Please consider giving us the ultimate holiday gift by becoming a patron.
I like that that's the ultimate holiday gift.
It is the ultimate holiday
gift. The gift of Arlene. The ultimate holiday gift.
And a cozy blanket.